All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this joint committee with the Committees on Energy, Economic Development, and Tourism, and our good friends from the Committee on Education. It's Friday, March 18th, 3 o'clock in room 229. We have one measure on this agenda, and I need to make some housekeeping announcements that this hearing is being taped live and can be viewed on YouTube at your pleasure over the Christmas holidays if you want to revisit this day. And if you are testifying remotely, your audio and video will be turned off until just before you are allowed to speak. And that is our announcement. So we're going to go into House Bill 2470 relating to government operations. On our testifiers list, we have Craig Hirai from Budget and Finance. And he is not here or not via Zoom. Chung Chang from DBED. Chung.
Thank you, chairs, vice chairs, and members of the committee. DBED stands on his written testimony supporting the intent of this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Kurt Otoguro from DAGS. Bring the whole team up.
Yeah, a little different. So thank you, Chair Wakai, Donnie, members of the committee, Kurt Otoguro, State Comptroller. We really appreciate you hearing this bill today on the NASIP project. As you know, it's been a long time project. It's been a project that has had a lot of different components to it. It's 15 years in the making. Probably 5 years hard with all the various team members, but the current bill suggests that we also include the DBED organization as part of this development, and our friends from HCDA as well as the city authorities. So what we thought is that we would testify together, if you don't mind, because we've collaborated since the bill has come out, and as you may recall, the bill originally started with HCDA in the fix. And so there is a current MOA already in place, but we thought that we'd start off with Craig to provide his testimony, and then we'll add on to that, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead. Hi, Craig.
Hi, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the committee. Craig Nakamoto, I'm the Interim Executive Director of the Hawaii Community Development Authority. Our written testimonies that we've submitted are very basic, but if you allow us to kind of deviate from that a little bit, as Comptroller Otoguro said, you know, this project, stadium and the surrounding area is probably one of the most important and visible projects in the state in a long time. I think everybody can agree that we want to get this project moving as quickly as we can. As efficiently as we can. So the comptroller, DAGS, comptroller, DAGS, and Stadium Authority and HCDA got together. We collaborated, and in light of the importance of this project and the divergent views of where the Senate is going and the House is going, we just wanted to provide you with some context. So if you can kind of indulge for a little bit. On the Senate side, as you call with Senate Bill 3334, the intent was to insert Hawaii Community Development Authority as a regulatory authority agency to eventually put its zoning and regulatory framework in place. The bill didn't transfer any land from the Stadium Authority to Hawaii Community Development Authority. The Stadium Authority was envisioned as retaining control over that whole 98 acres and being able to, develop as they saw fit, and as well as, I think, manage and control the existing stadium. That regulatory process of putting, in order to use our entitlement, HCD's entitlement and zoning, would probably take us a couple of years to do, up to 2 years to put plan and rules in place to allow zoning to occur or utilize our zoning. Now, since then, we've gotten some feedback from potential developers that you know, what this does is, while adding HCDA adds a different regulatory agency and may speed up some of the approval process down the road once we have entitlement and zoning, that developers may be getting, sort of worried that there's another level of, bureaucracy or another level of, jurisdiction in place, stadium authority, maybe DAGS is there too, and then you have HCDA. So what we kind of talked about this morning on the House side was if the intent is to have HCDA in as the zoning and regulatory authority, to do kind of a delayed effective date of HCDA's establishment. In other words, maybe choose like a July 1st, 2025 effective date. What it would allow is the RFPs to proceed using city entitlement and zoning, and then without the added layer of HCDA, but have HCDA come into play in, let's say, July 2025. And if we still needed HCDA at that point, we could start promulgating plan and rules to have our own plan and rules and a different approval process for the development that's going to occur in the 73 acres. We thought that would be the best solution or the path forward for this. It would carry out the path that I think the Senate wants to do, with a little bit of tweaks to kind of delay the effective date, allow the RFP to proceed, and using city zoning entitlement. And then in July 1st, 2025, we would have HCDA sort of come into play. I'll turn over to.
So we're asking for time. We're at a crossroads, just like other legislative bodies 50 years ago had. With that, back in the 60s, the legislature had to make a decision to move or repair Honolulu Stadium, and some of us were there to know that. And that was a courageous decision back then, and it was the right decision. As you look back, when the decision was being made, obviously it was very controversial. Fast forward to the 21st century, here we are again, and we have a major crossroad decision that will be a long-term vision for this legislative body as well as for the executive branch. It's important. It's a very important project, not just for a stadium, but just remember, we're building a district. We're trying to revitalize Halawa. We're trying to create new experiences. We're trying to invigorate the economy through jobs, of course, in the spending of the construction aspect, but there are jobs to be had in the district. There's going to be housing, different components of housing. Everybody focuses on the stadium and entertainment district, but there's a lot more to it. As we've talked to both House and Senate, just alignment with different state agencies to foster the culinary program, as an example I mentioned this morning. DOE and UH Community College are very interested in aligning their culinary program to something where they can sell their product at the stadium, as an example. Swap meet on steroids. Right? The old stadium didn't have parking, so now we have a big 73-acre parking lot, but no vendors. And so that was born, that's what born or created tailgating and swap meet. And so we believe in this new district that we want to create, it's going to culminate a new community that Mo'ili'ili had way back in the day. But we can create something more permanent. We can absolutely create incubator businesses for the swap meet vendors and make it more permanent. They do this in Japan and Korea. We can have tailgating in a different manner, because the population has changed. Some people absolutely want to watch a game in the stadium and sit there. Before it was bench seats on wooden seats. Then we had personal seats. It may be tomorrow some want to do that, or some may want to dine in a dining room. We can absolutely do a better job with hospitality suites. We can align with the University of Hawaii for the Nakoa Club, Koa Nui Plaza, whatever the case may be. Where the Stadium Authority, and I'll let Ryan speak, but the Stadium Authority is very open to working now with the stadium and with UH, so that they're beneficiaries. And that's a very important component of it. Growing up in Hawaii, stepping into Aloha Stadium myself was a big deal, and it gives you aspirations. And so some of that is for that, for the high school in Neighbor Islands. But just remember, and I'm preaching to the choir, this is a long-term vision, it's a long-term commitment. But it's going to take all of us to collaborate, and that's why we wanted to represent all of us together, because it's not just us, it's across the table, the legislature to work together, because this is a major project. I can't think of a bigger one that the state has tackled in recent years, but we appreciate your opportunity to do this, because we can embrace what's not there today. And we're getting chastised for it. Watching a game, we're focused on 8 games for UH as an example. Why not the other 7 or 6, the away games? We could create the venue outside with a large screen TV where vendors can continue to sell their goods when it's away. And it doesn't have to be football. It could have been the National Volleyball Tournament. There's a lot of opportunity if we just stop and think what we can do with this facility. Not to mention community events, culture events, picnics, whatever the case may be. But technology will play a big role in this. I'm sure of that, because that's what the consumer wants. The consumer wants different options. And that's what we're here to create if we're allowed to do that. The reason why it's now is thanks to you, we've invested a lot of time and money to get to this point of RFP. We're very close. I mean, very close. So if we're allowed to continue with funding, better yet, we can actually issue an RFP and go from a subjective phase to an objective phase. So right now it's been conceptual. What we've shown you, what we've talked to you about has been our aspirations. And we had to scale that back during the pandemic, rightfully so. We got a little too big with our dreams and it cost too much. So the pandemic actually helped to narrow the focus. And so we believe we have a good product to show you financially as well as economically. But now is the time to make that decision. Everybody has economic cycles in the world. I wish we did it a few years ago, rates were a little lower, but that wasn't the case. We're on the cusp, on the trough of, I think, what's going to be another economic increase. We're seeing rates start to increase now. So this is a good time to make this decision before it gets out of hand. So I'll stop with that. Manager?
Ryan, you want to put the microphone towards yourself?
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs, members of the committee. Ryan Andrews, acting manager of Aloha Stadium. And the Stadium Authority is appreciative of any and all efforts to facilitate this project and move it forward as quickly as possible. I know I'm speaking to the choir when I say this is a once in a generation opportunity, that when this project reaches maturity, it will not only bring dividends to the state, but to the people of Hawaii as well. I'm happy today to be sitting with HCDA and DAGs, working collaboratively, and we want that opportunity to be able to provide the feedback or recommended language that can help this bill reach its intended goals.
Since we have these 3 gentlemen at the table now, does anyone have questions now for them? I do. Yes, Senator Rivera.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation and then the comments today. So HCDA would prefer to have the responsibility in 2025. Is that what I understood?
So I think it's the joint sort of consensus among us that on the Senate side, obviously on the Senate bill, the way it was in the SD2, it had obviously a defective date, but the idea was to bring and establish HCDA upon approval. Because of some factors with how developers may feel about that, sort of the extra layer of, state agency on there. And what the girl said, that there's we're close to doing.
Yeah, you don't want to get interfere with where things are going. But then you would come in afterwards to be the manager. Is that the idea?
No, so we would, the effective date of HCDA's district would be in July of 2025. It would allow time for all of the, RFP to proceed without HCDA. And then in July of 2025, we would be established, we could develop plan and rules that with our own entitlement of zoning and approval process going forward.
So between now and 2025, what will we see? Will there be a stadium?
Right, so the way the project is defined, Senator, it's both a stadium RFP and a real estate RFP. So roughly 23 acres of the stadium, it will be state-owned land, and we will.
And that's the RFP that's looming.
Already there. We procured it. We had RFQ. We got 3 respondents, good respondents. And so now they're prepared to respond to an RFP based on the preliminary requirements.
And should that all go swimmingly, then the break ground and the stadium's operational by July 2025?
That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're gonna issue the RFP. The longer we wait, the longer it's not gonna happen, right? So that was the sense of urgency to get you in a.
And then HCDA would manage the rest of the development, the next wave, the following on.
We would
following.
issue an RFP for the real estate aspect of it. HCDA's zoning powers are needed as potential. We also have a good working relationship with the city, working with the mayor and his DP guy and other Harrison Group. And so we believe that either way it can work. But yes, the RFP would occur for that. We have 2 respondents from the RFQ, but the state would not, the way to manage this is the state would not give the developer all 73 acres all at once, as you know. We would give it in increments and we would manage it and watch it and make sure that they perform to the state satisfaction.
The funding, the 350 million that is sort of coming again, funding, will cover the development of the stadium, or is that going to go beyond the stadium into other parts of this?
Yeah, thanks for that question. The 350, where we looked at it, was for the entire district, right? That incorporated building of a stadium as well as the real estate aspect, which would be infrastructure. And so that's where the private public partnership came in. And so the developers in a bid are all interested in pursuing such a venture. I wouldn't say it's the first of its kind, but it's a very large scale one, where we would share in the financing of the stadium as well as in the district. And therefore, it would be financially feasible the way we worked out the models that we had with Goldman Sachs. The directive that we were given by the legislature was to make it net zero, which means whatever monies we generate or Ryan generates from the stadium need to offset the availability payments. So we've recommended, and the availability is to the developer for the financing aspect of it and the maintenance of the facility. So we've recommended to the legislature how we would structure such a deal with the remaining financing. So some of them go to infrastructure.
So as I mentioned to the chair, I get anxious thinking about, oh, it'd be great if 350 is the final cost, but things do seem to overrun when the state's involved.
There is that concern. I mean, when we first talked about it, it was 2019 or 18, really. And so, but we've downscaled the stadium. There is absolutely rising costs. I don't know what the shipping cost is going to be. I don't know what the war is going to do to the cost, just gas prices, but we're still, and that's why it's important to get from subjective to objective. We need the developer to engage. We need to know whether our concepts are actually solid or did we miss the boat. We don't think so, but that's where we're at. And so we need to provide you with the final numbers as well as the governor. And that's what we promised governor, that when we get to RFP, we will get the financial projections now, the bids, and we will.
We'll know where we are.
Model. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Senator, and if I may, and I want to, Senator Rivera, if I may, just want to clarify something that you asked. HCD's role, like in Kakako, right now, Heia and Kalailo, we're like a redevelopment agency and a regulatory agency. Typically, our role is not there to manage, as you said. So I want to make that clear. It's not in our wheelhouse to.
Okay, I didn't understand why the delay.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
just seemed like you wanted to come in after it was built.
So no, so I want to explain. So our role coming in after our build is after 2025, because it's the consensus we reached to allow things to proceed, not be an impediment. HCDA wants to be a solution and part of the solution. To be part of the solution, I think the best way is we let things go under the city zoning and rules, let RFP proceed, and then we'll come in July of 2035. In the meantime, it doesn't mean that we can't help. As I think Controller Kogoro said, we have MOAs in place right now, so we can assist Stadium Authority or DAGs with, infrastructure development or whatever that needs to be done. But we're not a manager per se. That's something that, once the new stadium is built, I presume that stadium authority will be. But I just wanted to make sure, Senator Revere, that
Thank you for clarifying.
the words mean, something, and I don't want to say we're managing.
I think the real estate will take 20 years,
Yeah.
over 20 years,
Yeah.
right? So it'll be over time.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Members, any other questions? Just one quick question. So you don't want the HCDA district established immediately. You want it to kick in so DAGs can continue with the process that's now going on year 4, I think, to issue the RFP. And then when that stadium is already built, that's when Craig and HCDA will have the district established. But in the meantime, Craig, I think in one of your testimonies, you talked about it's going to take 2 years for you to develop the rules.
Correct.
So can you be starting to develop those rules now versus having that clock start in 2025?
Yeah, that's a good question, Senator. And we kind of talked about that this morning. If the district is not established by enabling statute like today, I don't think we would have the authority and the power to promulgate rules and put in place something, because we don't really have a district. Or we couldn't, constitute a board, or even maybe spend money for the stadium, so-called stadium district. But I think to your question, Senator Revere, to your point, we could still, internally, we could still start internally working on planning for the eventual day when we're going to have plan and rules internally, not externally, internally, and we can support as needed other state agencies. That's something we want to do and something we have the expertise to do. So we definitely can do that.
Okay. Members, any final questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to touch on the other stakeholders involved in this bill. Randy Tanaka from DOE. Or anybody from DOE here to testify? Okay. And then I think it's Alan Oshima. Alan, do you want to, wait, he was with DBED.
I'm here, Chair Wakai and Chair Kidani. Thank you. I'm representing the SFA. I'm serving as the chair of the SFA board. Ed Sniffen could not make it to the hearing today and asked me to present or answer any questions. We amended our testimony on this bill this morning. There were some unintended consequences that might occur should we be transferred to DBED immediately, and we pointed that out in our testimony. There are certain things that the DOE and SFA working together are obligated to do under the formation of the SFA. One of it is to transfer land titles, et cetera, to the SFA so development can occur. The other is fees collected by the DOE in the interim be transferred to the SFA, again, for the same purpose. So we take no position on this, but ask that you defer any transfer to DBED for the time being. And if you intend to move forward with the transfer to DBED, administrative transfer to DBED, we ask that they carve out certain obligations on the DOE that were present in the enabling statute that set up the SFA.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Oshima. That's all I have for people who signed up for Zoom testimony. Is there anyone in the room that would like to testify on House Bill 2470? Members, any questions of those who are here or online? If not, the two chairs have conferred. This morning, the House passed out Senate Bill 3334. This is the sister bill of this measure. We have a lot of faith in the House to do some good work ahead and would like to therefore defer any action on this particular measure. With no other business for the joint committee, we are adjourned.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Today is Friday, March 18th, 3:15 PM agenda on the Committee on Education. Our hearing is in room 229. This meeting, including the audio and video of remote participants, is being streamed live on YouTube. You will find links to viewing options for all Senate meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. The Zoom meeting and YouTube live stream events will include the 3:15 PM agenda for the Committee on Education. In the unlikely event that we have to abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business on Monday, March 21st, 2022 at 3:00 PM in this conference room. A public notice will be posted on the legislature's website. I'd like to take this time to remind our testifiers that due to time restrictions on our hearings, we will be limiting testimony to 1 minute per testifier per bill. For people participating remotely, please remain muted and video disabled until shortly before it is your turn to testify. When I call your name, unmute yourself and your time will begin. After your minute is completed, staff will mute you so that we can move this hearing along in an orderly and efficient manner. Thank you. First on our agenda is House Bill 1562 relating to Early Learning Board, adds the Director of Hawaii P20 Partnerships for Education as an ex officio non-voting member to the Early Learning Board effective July 1st, 2050. To testify, Keith Hayashi, Interim Superintendent for DOE. In support, are you here to testify? Okay, thank you. In support, Colleen Momohara, Interim Director, Executive Office on Early Learning. In support, is Colleen there? Okay. And Andrea Quinn, individual, in support. Is there anyone in the room that wishes to testify on this measure? If not, members' questions? That's your question. No, don't ask me anything. No questions. Next. Next. House Bill 1865 relating to charter schools requires the State Public Charter School Commission to disperse funds directly to public charter schools, repeals the exemption for charter schools from requirements on the administration and use of federal funds allocated to the state for public education purposes. To testify, Interim Superintendent Keith Hayashi.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Brian Hallett, DOE CFO, on behalf of Interim Superintendent Hayashi. The department stands on its written testimony with comments raising concerns regarding the requirement that federal funds be allocated by the department and bypassing the Charter School Commission and going straight to the charter schools. We have concerns about the logistical implications of that change. Stand by if there's any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. To testify, Ann Horiuchi, Deputy Attorney General. And
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chair Kidani and Vice Chair Kim, members of the committee. As set forth in the department's testimony, we're proposing an amendment to the bill that would remove language that we believe is incorrect, but also unnecessary. I'll stand by for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. Next to testify, Rand Kanoa Castro,
Not present, Chair.
testifying in support for Kanuoka Aina NCPCS. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on this issue? Members, questions? If not, moving on to item 3, SCR 34. SR 30, requesting the Early Learning Board to evaluate and report to the legislature regarding the board's composition and charter and to develop a strategic plan. To testify, Robert Peters, Chair, Early Learning Board. Robert?
Thank you, Senator Kidani and Senator Kim, members of the committee. The
Early Learning Board supports the intent of this resolution as it aligns with one of our top priorities for this particular year and offers some comments. I'm available for any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Bob. Also had testimony in support from Colleen Momohara for Early Learning Board, and also Vivian Ito for Early Childhood Action Strategy. Is there anyone else wishing to testify? Members, questions of Mr. Peters? If not, thank you. Moving on. SCR 63, SR 58, requesting the Department of Education to name the new Kihei High School in honor of United States Congresswoman Patsy Teen Mink. To testify, Michael Goloyu Jr.
Not present, Chair.
Thank you. His testimony was in support. Also in support is Jennifer Azuma Trupaklik, Mike Goloyu Sr., Irene Coffer, Renee Rabb. Moving on. SCR 16, SR 10, requesting the Department of Education to conduct a comparison study and reimburse certain teacher expenditures for classroom supplies. To testify, Keith Hayashi, Interim Superintendent.
Good afternoon, Chair and Vice Chair Brian Hallett, DOE CFO, on behalf of Interim Superintendent Keith Hayashi. Department stands on its testimony in opposition to this measure, and that we're thinking is that it's unnecessary as there are already opportunities for accessing classroom supplies through vendor price lists and through school procedures. So that is our position, and I would like to add that if there are instances in which your offices are made aware of instances in which classroom supplies are not being provided by a school, I would offer to be available to assist in helping to track down the basis or the origin for that concern. Thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony.
Thank you. I have a question. Members, any questions? Brian, my question is, you and I both know that oftentimes there are supplies needed ASAP. What happens in those instances? Will the teachers be reimbursed, or do they need approval from the principal if it's not readily available?
So under ideal conditions, teachers have supplies ordered through the schools. They can be done in bulk. In those instances where teachers are required to or find it necessary to go and purchase supplies, our process is to seek prior approval from the principal. And then with prior approval to go make the purchase, to come back and seek reimbursement with the proper receipts.
Thank you.
So there is a mechanism to respond fairly quickly in those situations.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Moving on. SCR 13, SR 7, requesting the Legislative Reference Bureau to conduct a study on the feasibility of the state establishing a universal no-cost pre-kindergarten program. Testimony from Robert Peters for the Early Learning Board.
Thank you, Chair Kidani. The Early Learning Board appreciates this opportunity to offer comments about this resolution and questions its value at this particular point. I'd be happy to answer any questions that members might have.
Thank you, Robert. There's also written comments from Colleen Momohara, Charlotte Carter Yamauchi from LRB, Vivian Ito, Early Childhood Action Strategy, and one testimony in support from Andrea Quinn. Members, any questions? Not, moving on. Final one on this agenda. SCR 14 and SR 8 requesting the Legislative Reference Bureau to conduct a study examining the effectiveness of the state's single statewide public school system and the feasibility of conversion to an alternate system. We have no testimony We have comments from Charlotte Carter Yamauchi, LRB, and Raiden Iwamoto, an individual in support. Is there anyone wishing to testify on this measure? All right, members. Let's see. Any questions on any of the resolutions?
Understand the need for the last one, SCR 14 and 8. The alternative would be county by county.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's, I don't know what this bill, I mean, this resolution is. Because I don't know what the alternative is gonna be, but, yeah.
Thank you, members. Let's take the votes on, since we have quorum on these measures.
Wanna do the first one?
No, okay. Well, let's
Do the
just do
last
this. Okay, on House Bill House Bill 1562 HD1 relating to the Early Learning Board. We are going to defer decision-making until Monday, March 21 at 3 p.m. in this room. That's the first one, House Bill 1562. The same for House Bill 1865 HD1. So the first two we are going to defer till next Monday. For Senate Concurrent Resolution 34 and Senate Resolution 30, requesting Early Learning Board to evaluate and report to the legislature regarding the board's composition and charter and to develop a strategic plan. Recommendation of the chair is going to be to pass with amendments that are technical and non-substantive amendments. Questions, members? Not for SCR 34 and SR 30. Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on SCR 34, SR 30 with passed with amendments. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator De La Cruz is excused. Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Favela excused with 3 members present voting aye. Your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. SCR 63 and SR 58 requesting the Department of Education to name the new Kihei High School in honor of United States Congresswoman Patsy T. Mink. Recommendation is to pass with amendments, which are again technical and non-substantive amendments. Chair votes aye.
Chair votes aye on Senate Concurrent Resolution 63 and 58. Okay, Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator De La Cruz is excused. Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Favela is excused. 3 members voting aye. Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. For SCR 16 and SR 10, this is requesting Department of Education to conduct a comparison study and reimburse certain teacher expenditures for classroom supplies. Recess. Thank you. Reconvening the Committee on Education. We are on SCR 16 and SR 10. The recommendation is to defer this measure. Moving on to SCR 13 and SR 7, requesting the Legislative Reference Bureau to conduct a study on the feasibility of the state establishing a universal, no-cost pre-kindergarten program. Recommendation of the chair is going to be to pass this as is. Members, questions? If not, chair votes aye.
Okay, chair votes aye with the 3 members present. Anyone voting with reservations? Anyone voting opposition? If not, 3 members voting aye. Recommendations adopted.
Thank you. Final measure on this agenda is SCR 14 and SR 8, requesting the Legislative Reference Bureau to conduct a study examining the effectiveness of the single statewide public school system and the feasibility of conversion to an alternate system. Recommendation of the chair is to defer this measure. Members, I'd like to go back and vote on the issue, let's see, the House Bill 1570 HD1, which we heard earlier in a joint committee meeting with the Health. And this is relating to the youth vaping epidemic. Okay. So members, on House Bill 1570 HD1, recommendations of the chair is to redefect the date to July 1st, 2050, to replace the contents with Senate Bill 3118 SD2, and also to exempt the PMTA products. Questions, members? If not, for House Bill 1570 HD1, recommendation is to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Any member present voting with reservations? Any member voting in opposition? Hearing none. 3 members present, all voting aye. Recommendations adopted.
Thank you, members.
I'm sorry, and 2 members excused.
Thank you. That concludes the meeting.